The history of this woman can create a seasonal movie. Let me shock you. Women don't hold kola nuts in Benin. It is forbidden. And it happened for a reason. It wasn't like that many centuries ago. When we talk about this is Princess Adesuwa. Sir Victor Wifo was so creative that he had to create this statue here to remind us that it is forbidden for women to hold kola nuts in any gathering, either for their parents, for whoever they are with, or for a public gathering like chiefs. It is forbidden. Adesuwa here, the history behind that happened in 18th century. When we talk about 18th century, we are talking about 1700s, 1720. If you should calculate it now, it's over 300 years. It happened that there's a place in Delta State today, now called Ubulu-Uku. Ubulu-Uku in Delta State. Firstly, I would like to remind you guys that the Oba of Benin was a very powerful monarch, and Benin was an empire that covered as far as Lagos State, as far as Ekiti State, as far as Ondo, as far as Akure, as far as Delta State today, because the people of Delta State that are Urobos are also part and parcel of Edo people. So the Benin people, Urobo people, they are brothers, blood, not any other way related. We are related by blood. Now, the Oba of Benin governed from his territory, which is the heart of Benin, up to those estates. There's a place now called Ubulu-Uku in Delta State. There was a king there, I would say a duke, while he was still under the Oba of Benin. His name is Ogyobo. That's what they call him in Benin. It happened that whenever a king is, a title is conferred on a king, in an instance, if any king in the other territory should lost his father, he is to come to Benin to report to the Oba that he lost his father, and the title of his father will be passed down because it is hereditary. Now, it happened that the Obi over there had some rights to perform in Benin. The Oba that was on the throne as at that time was called Oba Akengbuda. I'm talking about around 1720 to 1750 AD. He came to Benin and he met with the Oba. He performed his rights. There are so many rights. You thank the Oba, you twirl your eben. The Ada and eben you people see, they are for ceremonious reasons, ceremonious use. So when he came to Benin, he finished. He had a very good friend in Benin, in this place we call Uzebu now, in the house of, I'm talking about Ezomo. Ezomo Uzebu was a very good friend to Ogyobo. Ezomo Uzebu and Ogyobo, they met in the palace of the Oba, and they exchanged their pleasantries as well. Ogyobo told Ezomo that I'll be coming to your house later, which they both agreed, because you cannot start discussing in the presence of the Oba. After which, Ogyobo left, and he came to the house of Ezomo after he finished the rites that he had to perform for the Oba. When he came, Ezomo asked his wife to bring out kola nuts, of which his wife prepared the kola nut and gave it to Adesuwa. Adesuwa brought out the kola nuts and presented it to Ezomo. Ezomo was dumbfounded, if I should use that. He was almost salivating from his mouth, as if he wanted to eat up Adesuwa's skin. This is to tell you she was a queen of beauty. Seeing her here, she was more of a goddess, if I should describe her. Ogyobo fell in love with Adesuwa. And the history has it that Adesuwa was already a betrothed to Oba Akengbuda. You do not drag with the Oba of Benin. That's why we say in Benin, Agwaba Simyogie. Whatever the Oba owns, nobody is allowed to tamper. But Ogyobo fell in love with Adesuwa. He wanted Adesuwa at all costs. And he told Adesuwa's father that he wants Adesuwa, of which Adesuwa refused when Ogyobo approached her. Not too long, Ogyobo looked for a means. He devised a means to make Adesuwa come over to Ubulu-Uku. Adesuwa was a very good market woman at that time. She was selling goats, livestock in general, birds of all kinds. Ogyobo bought few goats. Some might say 14, some might say more. He bought some and he told her that I'm going to pay you back in few market days, of which they both agreed because he was a king already. You know, kings don't make empty promises. But unknowingly to Ezomo himself and Adesuwa, that Ogyobo was trying to use this means to lure Adesuwa into another territory, of which he left. All the market days counted. After the market days, Adesuwa could not take it. Although she was beautiful, but her temper was not so cool. Adesuwa told her dad that she was to confront Ogyobo at Ubulu-Uku. The dad told her not to leave the house, of which the mom also told her not to leave. But Adesuwa, being a woman with temperament issues, she left angrily and she went to Ubulu-Uku. On getting to Ubulu-Uku, she had a servant with her, a maid. Of course, she was a princess. When we talk about Ezomo family, they are royal families. She went there with her maid, of which she confronted Ogyobo. "Where is my money?" she asked. Ogyobo, trying to be playful with Adesuwa, started, flirting with her, of which Adesuwa refused and told Ogyobo that, "I'm here for my money and my money you will give me." Ogyobo got angry. Adesuwa insulted Ogyobo. She made mention of a word that, I haven't been with kings in the town. Talk more of you that is an uncircumcised slave, of which Ogyobo got angry and he lifted up his sword and he beheaded Adesuwa, took off her head from her shoulder. That was the end of Adesuwa. As fast as her maid could run, he ran back to Benin to report to Ezomo Nuzebu, the father of Adesuwa. On getting to Benin, this sad news, was passed to Ezomo Nuzebu. Ezomo Nuzebu, they are all generals. They are chiefs of Benin and they are warlords. They are war generals. Ezomo Nuzebu was broken, went straight to Obaken Buddha and told Obaken Buddha, "Look at what Ogyobo has done. He just unalived my most precious jewel." Obaken Buddha, who got furious and was curious to know what has caused this, quickly called upon all the war generals and all the military men in Benin to go to Ogyobo and behead Ogyobo. This was to say an expedition was sent to Ubulu-Uku today. I'm calling it Ubulu-Uku. I'm calling it Obo because now it is called Ubulu-Uku, but the Edo people call it Obo. That's what they call it. That's why they say Ogyobo. But today the pronunciation is Ubulu-Uku. They are Benin people and they were once under Benin. Coming back to this story, when so many warriors went to the other side from Benin, Ogyobo was not just an easy man. You should all know that talking about voodoo, which we all call juju today or magic, Ogyobo was one at the top. Ogyobo unalived so many Benin warriors as at that time. They fought and fought, of which he was a king. You know, kings have their own warriors as well. After the war, the Benin soldiers, some retreated. They could not defeat Ogyobo, which was unusual. The Oba of Benin had to send a message down to a place now called the Ekorion. He sent a message to a man called Emokpa Ogbe. Emokpa Ogbe was his name. And it happened that years before this incident of Adesuwa took place, Ogyobo, as a medicine man, treated Emokpa Ogbe from an unknown ailment, which he got from some of his hunting expedition. Ogyobo he told Emokpa Ogbe he foresee a vision, a prophecy for Emokpa Ogbe. He told Emokpa Ogbe that you, in nearest years to come, you are going to kill me, but the same fate will come upon you. Of which Emokpa Ogbe told Ogyobo that you saved me from my ailment, I will never kill you. It's never going to happen. Now, coming back to years later, after Adesuwa had been unalived by Ogyobo, the Oba had already sent warriors to that place. They could not unalive him. It was remaining this Emokpa Ogbe that had this prophecy from the same Ogyobo. He was sent to that place to unalive the same Ogyobo. When he got there, he refused at first. He refused. He was invited. The Oba of Benin promised him a lot. So when he got there, he took his warriors and they started fighting. They fought, and at the end of the day, not to prolong the story, this same Emokpa Ogbe unalived the Ogyobo. The prophecy came to pass. But not too long, this same Emokpa Ogbe came back to Benin to report. But on the report, something happened, of which is a mystery, because this is a prophecy. When Emokpa Ogbe got back, he started feeling like a king, of which he knew that the Oba of Benin sent a lot of warriors to a place they could not win. But himself, he won the war. So he started feeling like a king. When the Benin women are going to the market in the other territory, he will, steal their baskets, whatever they are carrying, he will take it by force. with his warriors. So the Oba had to devise a means to unalive him. After making a lot of sacrifices and a lot of other ritual things that are supposed to be done, they sent warriors to that other side to meet a Mokpa. And a Mokpa, at the end of the day, in order not to be unalived, he drowned himself. In order not to be unalived or captured by the Oba of Benin, he drowned himself, of which he lost his mother during that war. So with that frustration and everything, he drowned himself in a river called Igbagon River. That's Jameson River in English. So that was the end of that Emokpa and Ogiobo. The same fate where he killed Ogiobo came upon him again and he died. Now, after the victory was secured by the Benin, the Oba of Benin, Oba Buddha, from 1700s, made a claim, proclaimed a law, and he passed it that no woman will ever hold kola nuts in the history of Benin. It is forbidden till date for a woman to hold kola nuts in any gathering. I hope we all understand just the history about this statue alone, because there's a lot inside we are going to be talking about. So if you learned 18 or 2, I just want to give a round of applause to Benin and not me, to the...
I say history doesn't lie. It is the people who write history that lie. Most times, historical facts are twisted to suit the narrative or ego of the writer. My name is Onwadenim Ngozi Chukwuka Fortune, and I'm a descendant of the king who led Ubulu-Uku to that war. The king who led Ubulu Kingdom to the Aya called Aya Adesuwa was Obiolise, my great-great-great-great-great-grandfather. I had to use great like 5 times because Obiolise, after he passed, was succeeded by his son Vieze. Vieze, father of Ojuko. Ojuko, father of Ojukobi. Ojukobi, father of Oshule, father of 7 sons actually, but I'm narrowing it down to 9. Father of Oshule, Oshule, father of Maasha, Maasha, father of Onwadi, my grandfather. As you can see, my surname is Onwadi. I'm from the dynasty of this very king called Obiolise, who is a descendant of Ezemu, the progenitor of Ubulu-Uku Kingdom. There is nowhere in our illustrious history as Ubulu-Uku people that we were told that we migrated from Benin Kingdom. There is nowhere again in our illustrious history that we were told that any king from Ubulu-Uku was beheaded, was murdered. Nowhere in our illustrious history at all. No king for my kingdom. There have been kings. In our monarchical order, there have been kings who lived different lifestyles, fought wars, won wars. No king from my kingdom was ever beheaded. But I'm going to use some books to show you what people like Mr. Jacob Eyarema from Benin wrote about Obiolise. Obiolise, who lived, passed, and was succeeded by his son. I'm going to show you something from the book. I'm not going to market this book to you, but it's a very interesting read. If you have interest in history, you can pick up the book and read. This book is called The Story of Ubulu Kingdom, and it was written and published by a renowned writer. This book took more than 10 years of research. It was written and published by Mrs. Esther Nogonuwe, right, an Ubulu-Uku writer. I made contributions to this book in the last pages. So I will read what Mr. Jacob Eyareva wrote. Very laughable, but let me read it to us. In page 258, discussing the Ubulu-Uku Benin War of the 1750 AD. Commenting on the war, Jacob Eyareva noted that, I am quoting him now, a prince of the house of Ubulu-Uku came to Benin City to be invested as Ogie or Obi of Ubulu-Uku. While dancing around the city after his investiture, according to custom, he called on the Ezomo of Uzebu, who presented kola nuts to him through his beautiful daughter Adesuwa, who had been betrothed to the Oba. When the Obi caught sight of her, he wanted to marry her, but she insulted him, calling him bush ruler. In derision, the Obi was indignant, and when he got home, he used charms to bring Adesuwa to Ubulu-Uku against the advice of her servants. She asked leave of her parents to go to Ubulu-Uku market to demand a debt owed to her for the sale of her goods. When the Obi heard she was there, he sent for her, and when he again refused his intentions and insulted him, he had her murdered. When the tidings reached Benin City, the Uzebu went to the palace to break the news to the Oba and tell him of his intention to make war against Ubulu-Uku. The Oba, however, said that he would avenge his lover's death himself. Thank you for listening to this quote from Jacob Ehareva. Now, let's see the corrections inherent in here. I am from Ubulu-Uku. Most of my viewers are from Benin, Idu, while some are from our Igbo brothers in the southeast. Now I'm going to ask you, does a woman serve kola nut in your own kingdom? Type the answer here. Let me see. Obosho Echoji. Obosho Owoji. You have to understand the culture of people before you dabble into some of these historical write-ups. Mr. Jacob Ehareva did not take into consideration that a woman does not present kola, a woman does not break kola, a woman does not serve kola. How much more serving it to the king of a kingdom? Secondly, the king saw her, rather, took interest in her, wanted to marry her, and she insulted him. So when the king got home, the Obi of Ubulu-Uku, my kingdom, my great-great-grandfather, got home, he used charm to whisk her away from Benin to Ubulu-Uku. Now, she was charmed to come to Ubulu-Uku, but in his narrative here, he said that the young girl told her parents that she's going to Ubulu-Uku to drag debts that was owed her by someone who she sold. In the movie, it was portrayed that she sold goats. This means that Adesuwa is not new to Ubulu-Uku. She knows Ubulu-Uku. She has been visiting Ubulu-Uku. So my question to Ehareva is this: how come that the Obi has never seen her and picked interest in her until she came to Sam Kola Nut? That doesn't even exist. I will stop analyzing this man's work because the work is a little bit old. That book was actually published. It's called A Short History of Benin. That book was published in 1965. The way our folklore is, our parents passed these stories to us unbroken. You can see that when I listed my genealogy, I did not read any book. I didn't need a book. I don't also need a book now to narrate to you what happened in the war we call Aya Adesuwa. Adesuwa War. Somebody said it's not a war. It is a war, yes. Some of the comments on my post yesterday said it's not a war. Yes, it's a war. When the king of another kingdom moves far from his kingdom to another kingdom that is not its subject to fight, it is called war. It is not unrest. Somebody said here that if they were able to conquer Ubulu-Uku in that war, by now they will be saying that Ubulu-Uku is a descendant of Benin. We are not descendants of Benin. In fact, I have quoted here that from the foundation of my kingdom, Ubulu-Uku, the Obi of Ubulu, the first pioneer king, the progenitor of Ubulu-Uku called Ezemu, has a relationship with Benin. This relationship is not subservient. It is mutualistic in the sense that Ezemu, who, by the way, I have to digress a little, has been described in books written by non-Ubulu-Uku authors as the third occult grandmaster of the universe, went to Benin to make charms for them. Most times the Oba of Benin comes to Ubulu himself for these charms to be made. This particular charm, called a Dai, is for longevity. Whoever has the charm called a Dai, the making of the charm is called Izo Dai. Now, whoever's on a Dai doesn't die young, doesn't die untimely. This charm was not only meant for kings in Ubulu-Uku. If you are from Ubulu-Uku and knows parts of anyone, you should know what I'm saying. My great-grandfather My great-grandmother had a dai. She didn't die. She was already putrefying. She was not dead. Until you will find a dai and cut it, it's like a rope. Our work in the coronation of the Oba of Benin, I'm saying this in a video so that anybody who has these flutes can come on and ask questions so that I can answer you. Our work in the coronation of any Oba of Benin is the preparation of this sham called Idayi for the Oba. For this purpose, as I said, the Oba will come to Ubulu-Uku and spend 3 days in Onitobi. Because, as I explained, when Ezemu was about to pass, his pot of charm was transferred to his, I won't say grandson now, I will say to his son. Because if I delve into that, I will have to explain that Nenwopale Ezemu, the first son of Ezemu, Ijedenka, was killed in Anozala. The revenge of the death of Ezemu's first son, the evidence of the revenge is still there till today. Every single soul, every single living thing in Anozala turned to Ikmenka ants hill, and the ants hills are still there as I speak with you, looking like human beings. So when the succession line was broken, Oba Dome Wabo Zim. No, Dome Idebe. Idebe is a woman, a female man, who has undergone the rights to stay at home and give birth to children. It was this Ozim that gave birth to Ope. Ope was Ozim's last child. Ope was the one who inherited Ezelu's pot of charm. And it is Ope's descendants that make Idayi for the Obas of Benin. I have read accounts where it is posited that, even in this write-up, I had to make some corrections. If you are not from the bloodline of Umuope, there are 4 sons among them. Umuawokolo, Umuoshuleze, Obendike, if you are not among the descendants of Ope by blood, if you are not a son of Ope by blood, you cannot be taught the process of Izo Idayi and other charms prepared by Umuope. You cannot. So even if you are the most loyal person in life, even if your mother is from there, even if your mother is from Onitshope, they will not teach you anything. Your father has to be from there. Your relationship with them has to be patrilineal, not matrilineal, not by friendship. It has to be by birth, by consanguinity, not by affinity. Consanguinity of the patrilineal kind. Before it is these descendants of Ope that perform these rites that I described, these rites that I described for you, called Izo Idayi. And somebody asked me, do I mean that the Obas of Benin have been coming to Ubulu-Uku? And he mentioned one Oba of Ovorawe, and the Ovorawe also come. I said, yes, Ovorawe came to. Even when the British army dethroned Ovorawe, it was Ubulu-Uku that he first ran to before he moved to Calabar. When he moved, special prayers were meant for him. The prayer was that the Oba should go and return safely. There is no dispute about it. This claims, as it is today, if you are to see it as a claim, please, kindly, if you are a Benin man or woman, go to the palace of Benin and ask a bit of the history of Ubulu-Uku. Ask about the performances of Ezemu in Benin, even in your palace of Benin. What are the contributions of Ezemu to the development of the palace of Benin? How did the noise from the market, the Oba markets, how did the noise, which usually disturbed meetings at the palace, how was the noise quenched today? In 2005, he came and Anene wrote this about the remnants of the people who came to Ubulu-Uku for this Aya Adesuwa. This is the book by Ikem Adanine. It's called The Sociology of Ubulu-Uku. This book is 2005. I've been telling you things which my grandparents told me. Now I'm going to read from a book which people who are not from my lineage wrote. The other one I wrote, the person who wrote it is related to my lineage. This one, the authors are not in any way from anywhere near my lineage at all. So page 24 of the book sociology of Ubulu-Uku says, Ubulu-Uku hail from Benin. They are descendants of the escorts who came to Ubulu-Uku with Princess Adesuwa in her ill-fated journey for marriage in Ubulu-Uku with Obiolise. Ill-fated journey to marriage. Then descendants of the people who accompanied her. If this woman was whisked away by magic down to Ubulu-Uku, how come she came with her servants? There are some lies that don't hold water, and they can never hold water. My wife of today, who I'm sure is also watching this, is from a place we call Umuidu. Her particular lineage is Umuije. Ije was a prince from Benin who accompanied the soldiers who came for this war. And in shame, many of them could not go back. It's not something we openly discuss because the SK was negotiated out. Ije would eventually marry a sibling of Obiolise called Amesha. So my wife is a descendant of Ije and also a bit connected to my great-great-great-great-grandfather's lineage through Amesha's, your great-great-grandmother. Anybody who is from Idunidu can confirm this story that I'm telling you. What I'm telling you is not something you cannot verify. The distance from Ubulu to Benin is not more than 2 hours. At most 2 hours, 30 minutes. Drive down to the community. Ask, is it true what this young man said, that kings of Benin have a right that they usually come to Ubulu to perform, and by special arrangements, Ubulu people can go to Benin to perform it? Is it true? If it's true, who are the people that perform it? Then you go to their place, they show you everything. It's not a secret. Yesterday, I had to dig to find the picture of one of the Obas of Benin, Eredua, whose visit was in 1982. So, the narrative I want to correct is that, first of all, yes, we fought war with Benin. What led to the war was that the Obi of Ubulu-Uku went with his entourage of healers to Benin to cure your king, Akim Buddha, who was ailing. And by the mercies of God and our ancestors, he was healed. When he was healed, he asked the Obi to make a demand. The Obi did not make any big demand. He only simply asked that the daughter of Ezomo, his friend, should be given to him in marriage. Now, the daughter of Ezomo, who is Adesuwa, had been betrothed to the Oba. The Oba could not even decline this because he had said, make a request. So the request was granted. After a few hours, the person who granted the request changed his mind that the young lady will not leave immediately with the Obi, that the Obi should go and she will be accompanied back to Ubulu-Uku later. When the Obi left, when he got home, we have this tale we call Eshomeji. It is not only the Obi that does it. Washumeniji, when they roast yam for you in my place, you will come back to eat that yam. So whatever was done to bring Adesuwa back, she came back fully as a wife and was properly married. In my write-up, I narrated how I met one of the oldest men. By the way, that man should be about 90-something now. Enlightened, educated, what have you. And he's a descendant of Ije's dynasty. There are many of the Benin soldiers who did not return. We have them in every place you can call Idunu-Idu. Even we have Idunu-Idus, people from Idunu-Idu who are living in Ubulu-Kiti and so many other places in Ubulu Kingdom, as it were. This man narrated that when Adesuwa came to marry the king of Ubulu-Uku, they continued to live peacefully. Only that Adesuwa, as every other Benin person, has a very sharp mouth. You don't talk back at your husband in my place. She continued this lifestyle to the anger and pain of the other wives who were her seniors, until one day she entered a meeting where her husband was meeting with the council of chiefs, and she told him something, and he asked her to leave. And she replied, is it because of these ones that are here? That this palace as a whole is not as big as her own father's backyard or the mother's kitchen. That was when Obiolise told Ndi Dodoma, take her away. If you are asked to take somebody away in ancient Ubulu Kingdom, if you don't take the person away, you will be taken away. That was how Adesuwa was taken away. When the news got to Benin, they prepared for war, came for war, and saw more than they bargained. No king in the history of Ubulu has ever been killed, much more being beheaded. No king. No war has ever swallowed Ubulu. All the wars that has ever been fought, when later we had need to fight the whites and missionaries, Obolo was the leader of the fight. When you hear Ekumeku today and people are laying claim to Ekumeku, people are laying claim to Ekumeku in every community in Enuani, it's okay to lay claim, but the headquarters of Ekumeku was Ubulu-Uku, is still Ubulu-Uku because the sacred forests of Ekumeku are still virgin forests till today. Ekumeku. Elizabeth Isiche wrote about it, Professor Elizabeth Isiche. She wrote that when the leader of the team, that's Ubulu-Uku, were decimated, that was when the Ekumeku battle was won. And the Ekumeku battle was won because we had a bit of betrayals. That's another topic if I want to discuss another war. Thank you so much. Chukwu ya gozie unu mee ụbọchị tata ka ọ gakwa n'ụlọ ọhụma ahụ. Nye unu tikwa aka na emotional trauma atụcha. Mmiri bugharịsị igwu. Ufele bugharịsị igwu. Obushishi ebe o si bule. When the wind decides to carry the tail of a palm frond, after carrying it up and down, it is returned to where it was taken from. No wind shall take your balance this week. I bless your day for you. In the name of our ancestors, do have a very productive day. God bless you. Share this video. Let's use it to correct impressions of those who try to put us in their pockets. Knowledge is power. Bible the Chukwu ya gozie unu. Isi enu and me nenu. Isi Igbo nenu. Igbo wofu. Let's stop the division. Thank you and God bless.